Dr. Berg here again. Today we're going to talk about the number one worst weight loss advice in the world, which ironically just happens to be the number one advice given by mainstream conventional dietitians, medical professionals. Now the big question is, who am I to give you advice? I have over 8,700 success stories. Now I know some people are going to say, well, that's not real science, it's not a study, it's just anecdotal. But these are not fake. They're real before and afters. You can also look at my Google reviews. I have over 5,000 of them with an average of 4.9 stars out of 5. And if you read those, you'll see a lot of them are related to weight loss and other health things. And those are not fake. They're real. Also, I've been in practice for 30 years, and I've worked one-on-one with over 40,000 people. That being said, I do have some experience in this area. All I want you to do is listen to this next part and look at it from a viewpoint of common sense. Here's the worst advice. Lower your calories. Portion control. And here's the big problem. When you do that, especially repetitively, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be craving. I do know thousands of people that tried that in their late 20s, in their early 30s. And what happened is their body keeps adapting to these lower calories, and they start developing a slower metabolism to the point when they're 45 or 50, trying to lose weight is next to impossible. So the body is dynamic. When you lower your calories, the body adjusts to it and it slows down. But it doesn't actually really slow down. It becomes more efficient. Not necessarily in a good way, in a bad way. And I'm going to explain that. But there's two types of low-calorie diets I need to differentiate. You have the low-calorie diet where someone's also doing low carbs. And then you have this one, low calorie, high carb dieting. When you do it, you end up raising insulin, okay? Because of the high carbs. What is insulin? Insulin is the hormone that changes where the fuel is used from. So now the question is, where does the fuel come from? If you can't get fuel from your own fat, where is it coming from? Well, it's coming from the diet. It's coming from sugar. This is why it's really difficult to go from one meal to the next without being really, really hungry. One of the solutions that they will tell you to do is to do 6 small meals a day to spread it out so that way you're constantly being satisfied. Okay, the problem with that is every time you eat, you're just, regardless of what you eat, even if it's not carbohydrates, you are increasing insulin. And then when you can't sustain that and you fall off the wagon, they blame you for having low willpower. And the truth is, it doesn't have anything to do with your willpower. It has everything to do with the advice. It's just bad advice. So then they'll tell you, why don't you just load up with fiber or drink more water so you feel fuller? Or they might just tell you chew gum or getting you on Ozempic. So here's the big problem with Ozempic. Right now, there's a $2 billion lawsuit because of the side effect from irreversible eye damage. You can get permanent blindness from taking Ozempic. Well, I'm going to give you a much better solution, so just hang in there. But I just wanted to really fully help you understand why this is the worst advice. Another way to understand this is, let's say you have a hybrid car. It runs on electricity from a battery, and it also runs on gas, right? Which is very similar to our bodies. We have 2 different fuels we can use. We can use fat or we can use glucose or sugar. But in a hybrid car, you also have the ability to click in what's called eco mode. So now the efficiency of your car is better because you're not fully extracting all the energy from all the different things. Maybe your lights go dimmer. The fans that you can adjust are set on low mode. So overall, your car is not necessarily efficient. It's just using less energy. Well, that's exactly what happens when you go on a low-calorie, high-carb diet. You no longer can tap into the fat reserve, your own fat. The stored fat sits there. Where's the energy coming from? The glucose or sugar that you eat. This is why you basically need to eat like every hour and a half to keep up your energy. How could it actually be where you have someone that is overweight, has a lot of this, but they're tired? Fat is potential energy. How could you be tired if you have so much potential energy? Because it's potential. It's not actual. In order to release it, this hormone right here needs to go down, which means your carbohydrates need to be lowered to be able to tap into it. In the body, when someone goes on this diet and starts to develop this, what's called slow metabolism, which really is just your body just adjusting what gets energy and what doesn't, because you can't use your fat. So with this diet, you have a brain crash. Plus, now the heart can't really get its full energy, so the blood pressure is going to start going up. The thyroid is going to make adjustments. So this is why your feet might get cold, because we're shutting down the different systems to adjust for the lack of fuel. This is at the core of a lot of chronic issues with the liver, with your nervous system being stuck in flight or fight mode. Your immune system is not working that well. This is not sustainable. And this is why it's the worst advice, because you're not going to be able to achieve your goals if you're hungry and craving carbohydrates and have brain fog and high blood pressure and all the other side effects that come from this right here. Now I'm going to give you 13 tips of what I consider is good advice. Number one, do not use pre-workout sugary drinks or those protein bars that they give you. Why? Because here you are, you're expending all this energy doing this workout, and you don't want to raise insulin to nullify the effects of the fat burning. You want to keep insulin really, really low. So I highly recommend you don't consume hardly anything during the workout, okay? Maybe you do this, right? You wake up in the morning, you just fasted all night long, you skip breakfast, and you work out in the morning. That would be awesome. You would get way better results than if you just worked out and ate, or ate and worked out. Number two, you want to keep your carbs less than 10 to 20 grams per day. I know with keto, it's under 50 grams, but just to really see the results, I recommend doing an extra low carbohydrate diet, especially if you're dealing with metabolic issues, especially if you're dealing with weight loss. You want to keep these carbs way down. And some people do the carnivore diet, which is 0 carbs. They're going to get there faster if they do that. And that's an option if you really want to see faster results. Because metabolic disease, especially with weight loss, is really dependent on your carbohydrates, okay? I think a much better strategy is to do intermittent fasting instead of lowering your calories. And I will explain that as we get to that. Number three, no bright lights at night. Our bodies were never designed to live underneath artificial lights like we live right now in modern times. What you want to do to get the best sleep possible is 90 minutes before you go to bed, you start dimming the lights, maybe having dark rooms. I would recommend, if you can get it, incandescent lighting or some type of lighting where you don't get this really strong blue light, okay? Because blue light activates cortisol, and you don't want the stress hormone cortisol right before bed. We want to send the message, time to go to bed, increase melatonin. And you can do that with infrared. Sit in front of the fireplace reading a book before bed. Oh my gosh, you're going to get so much infrared. Infrared is one of the best things as a therapy for your cells. It helps the mitochondria, it increases melatonin, it'll help you drift off into a wonderful sleep. And then number four, in the morning when you wake up, if you could get out in the sun for 20 minutes, it's going to start waking you up so you can activate cortisol properly in the first part of the day. So then you can use up that cortisol, and then you don't need to use cortisol at night because that's not going to help you sleep. Bright blue light in the morning from the sun or the sunset, right? That's where you're getting a lot of infrared. Number five, no late night snacks. This is a very bad habit. When you go on a low carb diet, your hunger will go away. And the reason why people snack at night is just out of habit, maybe it's stress. And I've been so guilty of this because I've snacked for years on like salty chips and things like that. So I have personal experience. This is a really bad habit. It's definitely going to create increased insulin before you go to bed. And this is not a good idea. You really want to just get in the groove of eating the right things so the hunger goes away. Do intermittent fasting, where you're only having like maybe 2 meals or even 1 meal a day. You are finally tapping into your own fat fuel. And that makes things so sustainable and so easy, because when you're not eating, you are actually eating your own fat. And that's a superior fuel. I think it's a mental thing where people don't realize that they are eating when they're not eating, and they're like, oh my gosh, I should be eating something. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Number 6 right here, never buy junk food at the grocery store. If you do, then it's in your pantry, it's in your refrigerator, and now you have to say no every late night or every day when you go through stress or you're hungry or out of habit. It's right there sitting in front of your face. It's a constant battle. The other thing is when you go to the grocery store, never go there hungry. Eat before you go. I mean, how many times have we went to the grocery store and not only bought something that we shouldn't be buying, but buy it in bulk? Don't just go there randomly and like, okay, let's just see what's there. Number 7, social situations, parties, events, birthdays. You talk about going off the program, you got to be very cautious because this is where it breaks down for a lot of people, because as soon as your friends and family start doing it, you kind of cave and go right into it because it's a social thing and everyone's kind of going off the program. I would advise going into these events with caution and just be very aware that that's going to happen so you have attention on it, so it's not a mindless thing. And also eat before you go there, so at the very least you're not hungry and you can just socialize without having to go off and eat a lot of carbs. Number 8 is walking after a meal. Boy, you can just burn off any extra sugar. It's really, really healthy. Definitely walk every single day because you have to somehow do something to extract stress from your body. And walking, hands down, is the absolute best thing. Now, going to a gym and exercising will do it as well. But if you go for somewhat of a good long half-hour walk, that seems to be a low-stress activity. Being in a different environment, looking at things, being in nature. And I know the days that I don't go for a walk, I don't sleep as well. Number 9 here, don't eat unless you're hungry. When you go low carb, your hunger goes down because insulin goes down, and now your body can tap into your own fat reserves. Now you're not just dependent on these dietary calories. You're eating your own fat between the meals. It's a superior, healthy type of fuel that's cleaner than carbs, and your brain's going to like it. How do you know that it's all working? Well, you now have the ability to go from one meal to the next for a longer period of time without being hungry. Number 10, animal protein. Super important. You're going to feel much better. Your blood sugars are going to be much better. Our bodies, as a priority, need protein above carbs and above fats. So protein is the most important macronutrient for repair of tissues because it's not just about your muscles. You have hormones that are made out of protein. You have all the enzymes. Most of your biochemistry is protein. And it wasn't until I started doing that, until I started to really turn my health around. There's some groups that are telling us to eat less and less animal protein and more plant protein. And I don't agree with that. And I'll have you even test it on yourself. You'll feel way better if you do animal protein, but not like a tremendous amount right before bed, but a moderate amount to satisfy you. Number 11, apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon or teaspoon in a glass of water. Drink it with a straw so it doesn't get in your teeth before each meal. Can actually really help your digestion and also help your blood sugar. Number 12, the diet that you're on should not keep you bloated. I used to be in a state of constant bloat and pain, and I always had a full sensation underneath my right rib cage. I didn't know that was my gallbladder and my bile ducts, and it wasn't until I changed my diet that things started clearing up. But for some people, they can't digest even a lot of fiber, if any fiber, so this is why they should do the carnivore. Or maybe some fermented vegetables like sauerkraut. Or if it's fine, just have a moderate amount of vegetables. And that's kind of what I do, and it seems to work. All right, number 13, periodic prolonged fasting. There's more benefits from that than anything else you could possibly do. And I've done a lot of videos on that. In fact, if you have not seen this video right here on fasting, you need to watch it right now. It's probably one of my most important ones.